Всім добрий вечір. Лідер фракції тут, голова Офісу президента тут, прем'єр-міністр Шмигаль тут, Подоляк тут, президент тут. Всі ми тут, наші військові тут, громадяни суспільства тут, всі ми тут. Захищаємо нашу незалежність, нашу державу. І так буде і далі. Слава нашим захисникам, слава нашим захисницям. Слава Україні!
Слава!
1 year ago, Ukrainian President Zelensky refusing to leave Kyiv, even as Russian tanks rolled closer to the capital city. In the first year of the war, Zelensky's spirit would come to embody the fight of the Ukrainian people and inspire not just those in neighboring Europe, but all across the world. With us now to talk about the events of the past year and tell us what we may see in the year to come, Pulitzer Prize-winning historian and staff writer at The Atlantic, Anne Applebaum, associate editor and columnist for The Washington Post, David Ignatius, and Pentagon correspondent at The New York Times, Helene Cooper. Let's talk about what you've learned this year about the nature of warfare in 2022 and 2023.
So the first thing I learned is the importance of physical courage, the fact that he had the guts to stay there. And when he came out of the bunker in the video clip that we showed, and there he was in his fatigues with his buddies around him, and he said, "We're here, we're not moving." That was a powerful statement of personal courage. Second thing I learned was the importance of technology. I mean, the technology that the United States has provided to Ukraine is extraordinary. We have the ability to use the most modern tools of AI, other ways of precisely locating where the enemy is, and then putting fires from HIMARS, from artillery pieces, everything that the U.S. can provide within the limits of what it said is allowable, is targeted very precisely. When you read that a building full of Russian generals and senior officers got hit, that's no accident. That was very specifically targeted. Third thing that I learned is the importance of intelligence. The way in which the United States has used intelligence to constantly stay on the front foot, to take advantage of Russian weaknesses, to preempt Russian actions, and the way in which Russian intelligence has been so stupid. I mean, they really let Putin believe his fantasies about Ukraine, that it's not a real country, they won't fight back. And somehow the vaunted Russian intelligence machine completely broke down in this war.
So, Helene, let's talk about what we've learned over the past year, not only the United States and Russia and Ukraine, but let's just say other observers like China.
When February 24th happened, I still remember going to bed that night, and I think the night after, thinking, okay, I'm going to sleep right now, and when I wake up in the morning, Zelensky will be dead, his wife will be dead, this will be over. And I remember when I watched that video that they put out, and it went like lightning across Twitter, across, all social media, and it's like, these guys are not playing. They are here to stay, and they're going to fight. And
they're not playing by the old rules either.
No,
right? That was like nothing we had ever
we hadn't seen this kind of. This was savvy social media, but it was also this is how you lead. Remember, this is coming right after we had watched the Afghanistan fall, so we were kind of numb at this point, and we were, I think, braced for Ukraine to follow a similar path. And to see that video, to see them put out that. See Zelensky put out that "we are here" tweet, I thought was a very big moment in what was going to be a huge year.
You have a rotting Russian military. Then you have the opening scenes from the war made for Instagram with Zelensky out in the street. I think what shocked me was how much that electrified not only Americans, but people across the world.
Yeah, I think there are two things that are important about Zelensky that explain that amazing appeal. And I should say it's not only in the United States, it's also all across Europe. One, as you say, he's very good at social media. And they do think a lot about it. They think a lot about communication, how to do it, how to talk to people. They deliberately show how their authenticity and their emotion, when he's dressed in his green T-shirts and his green sweatshirts, that's because that's the uniform of the Ukrainian Territorial Army. He's not saying, I'm a general, I'm not in charge of the army, I'm an ordinary soldier, I'm a guy like everybody else.
Zelensky, this TV star, this comedian, would grow into being this historic of a figure. We never really know, do we, who will rise to the moment?
No, and I would say there's another important thing about him in the American context, but also in the European context, which is that he, if you think about our culture wars, roughly, very, very crudely, kind of liberal values on the one hand and nationalism or patriotism, whatever language you want to use on the other hand, Zelensky showed us that it's possible to have a muscular, patriotic defense of liberal values.
And we talk about the Ukrainians' fighting spirit. We talk about how they keep pushing back against Russia. Well, the stakes, as you've written, are it's existential. Talk about the brutal nature of Russia's occupation and what's at stake here for not only the Ukrainians, but also the world.
There's some real elements of democracy in Ukraine, and the Russians have sought to crush that, destroy it. Every liberated territory, they've discovered torture chambers, they've discovered makeshift jails. Thousands of Ukrainians have been deported to Russia, including Ukrainian children who've been separated from their parents. That we don't even know the full numbers. It's many thousands. It may even be up to tens of thousands. And so knowing that this is what happens on occupied territory, knowing that this is what happens on their land, the Ukrainians can't not fight. And the amazing torture, the amazing destruction of the territory that they've occupied is something we're going to learn a lot about over the next few years. And it explains both why the Ukrainians fight, and it also explains why it's going to be so difficult to end the war.
All right. The Atlantic's Ann Applebaum, the Washington Post, David Ignatius, and Helene Cooper with the New York Times. Thank you all so much for being with us.